At 3:42 in the morning, network engineers inside an American data center receive an alert that should never appear on multiple systems at once. Traffic crossing the North Atlantic is slowing. A major fiber optic cable has stopped responding. Seconds later, another route begins reporting abnormal signal loss. Cloud platforms automatically redirect data toward surviving connections, but those routes are already absorbing more traffic than expected. Video calls begin freezing. International payments take longer to verify. Airline reservation systems struggle to synchronize. Cloud applications used by hospitals, manufacturers, banks, governments, and military contractors begin producing timeouts. Most people assume the internet is floating above them through satellites and wireless towers. But the emergency unfolding inside those data centers is happening because something has gone wrong thousands of feet beneath the ocean. More than 99% of international data exchanges travel through submarine telecommunications cables. Roughly 500 cable systems extend across more than 1.7 million kilometers of ocean, linking continents through strands of glass often no thicker than a human hair. The International Telecommunication Union says these systems experience approximately 150 to 200 faults globally each year, with fishing activity, dragged anchors, natural hazards, abrasion, and equipment failure responsible for most damage. Normally, the network survives. Internet traffic is redirected through other cables. Repair crews identify the damaged section. A specialized ship sails toward the fault, lifts the cable from the seabed, removes the damaged portion, splices the fibers, tests the connection, and lowers the repaired system back into the ocean. But the imagined attack tonight is different. The first failure occurred along one route. The second appeared far enough away to make coincidence difficult to accept. A third cable is still operating, but its landing station is receiving suspicious network traffic from an unknown source. Someone may not be trying to cut off the internet with one dramatic strike. Someone may be testing how many layers of the system can be disrupted simultaneously. That possibility explains why the United States has started treating submarine cables not merely as telecommunications infrastructure, but as strategic territory. America's emerging strategy is not based on surrounding every cable with warships. That would be impossible. The cables are too numerous, too long, and too widely distributed. Instead, Washington is attempting to control the system through several overlapping layers. It wants to decide who can build cables connecting to the United States. It wants to limit foreign adversary equipment, ownership, management, and access. It wants more routes so that one damaged corridor cannot isolate the country. It wants trusted allies to protect cables beyond American waters. It wants faster repair capacity. And it wants cable operators to detect abnormalities before a minor fault becomes a national crisis. The first layer begins at the cable landing station. A submarine cable crossing an ocean is only useful when it reaches land. At that point, the underwater fibers connect to terrestrial networks, data centers, cloud platforms, telephone systems, financial networks, and government infrastructure. The landing station is therefore one of the most sensitive points in the entire system. At the bottom of the ocean, a cable may be difficult to reach. Near the coast, it becomes easier to locate. Inside a landing facility, physical equipment, network management systems, power supplies, maintenance records, encryption systems, and traffic routing controls may all be concentrated in one place. An adversary does not necessarily need to break the glass beneath the ocean if it can compromise the facility controlling the connection. This is why America's new strategy focuses heavily on licensing. The Federal Communications Commission controls licenses for submarine cables landing in the United States. In August 2025, the FCC adopted new rules intended to streamline trusted cable projects while protecting the system from national security risks associated with foreign adversaries. Several provisions took effect in November 2025, including presumptive disqualifying conditions, routine security conditions, quarterly reporting requirements, and procedures governing applications, revocation, and termination. The logic is simple. Security should begin before the cable enters the water. Who owns the project? Who supplied the equipment? Who manages the network? Which companies can lease? Capacity? Who can access operational data? Where are maintenance records stored? Can a foreign government pressure one of the companies involved? Could hidden vulnerabilities be placed inside equipment before installation? These questions turn an ordinary infrastructure application into a national security investigation. A cable may appear to be a neutral pipe carrying information between two continents, but every system has owners, investors, vendors, technicians, software platforms, management tools, and maintenance contractors. Control over any of those layers can create influence over the network. The concern is not limited to someone pressing a button and switching the cable off. A compromised operator could potentially collect operational intelligence. It could learn how traffic is routed. It could identify which landing stations are most important. It could delay repairs. It could provide misleading information during an emergency. It could allow untrusted technicians near sensitive infrastructure, or it could create conditions that become useful only during a future crisis. America's licensing strategy is therefore designed to exclude dangerous relationships before they become embedded inside the network. The FCC's approach also reflects a broader shift in how telecommunications security is understood. For years, governments concentrated primarily on wireless networks, cellular towers, satellites, routers, and data centers. Submarine cables received less public attention because they were usually privately built, technically reliable, and nearly invisible. That assumption is disappearing. The modern internet is no longer used only for emails, websites, and entertainment. It connects artificial intelligence data centers. It synchronizes financial markets. It supports military logistics. It carries government communications. It allows multinational companies to operate the same cloud systems across several continents. It links undersea sensors, satellites, ports, factories, power grids, and emergency services. The cable is now part of the computing system itself. This is especially important during the expansion of artificial intelligence. Training and operating advanced AI systems requires enormous data centers that exchange huge volumes of information. A model may be trained in one country, supported by cloud infrastructure in another, and accessed by customers throughout the world. The more computing becomes concentrated inside giant data centers, the more valuable the connections between those facilities become. America may build the most advanced chips and the largest AI clusters, but those systems cannot function globally without secure international connectivity. That is why the new strategy combines security with faster construction. The objective is not merely to defend existing cables, it is to build more of them. Redundancy is one of the strongest forms of protection. Imagine a country connected to the outside world by only one cable. Cutting that line could create a national outage. Now imagine the same country connected through 6 cables traveling along different seabed routes and landing at separate coastal stations. An attacker would need to disrupt several systems at once. Even then, traffic might still move through neighboring countries, terrestrial networks, or satellite links. This does not make the country invulnerable. It makes isolation far more difficult. Route diversity is therefore central to the strategy. Several cables leaving the same beach and following nearly identical paths may appear redundant on a network diagram. In reality, they can share the same physical vulnerability. One dragged anchor could damage more than one system. A coastal disaster could affect several landing stations. A hostile vessel could patrol a narrow corridor through which multiple cables pass. True resilience requires geographical separation. New cables need different landing points, different ocean routes, different owners, different suppliers, and connections to multiple international hubs. This is why regulatory delays can become security risks. If construction is too difficult, expensive, or slow, operators may continue concentrating new capacity inside the same established corridors. That may reduce costs, but it also creates choke points. In February 2026, the U.S. House passed the Undersea Cable Protection Act, which would remove a duplicative permit requirement for cables routed through national marine sanctuaries when other federal or state authorization already exists. Supporters argue that the old process discouraged new routes through those areas, reduced landing diversity, and increased the danger created by concentrated infrastructure. At that stage, the measure had passed the House, but had not yet become final law. The national security theory behind faster permitting is straightforward. A new cable is not just additional bandwidth. It is another escape route for data. When one system fails, software can redirect traffic. The process is similar to vehicles leaving a blocked highway and moving onto alternative roads. But the analogy has limits. A road can handle only a certain number of vehicles before congestion forms. A cable can handle only a certain volume of data before latency rises and performance falls. Automatic rerouting may keep the internet online while still producing slower applications, dropped calls, delayed financial transactions, and interruptions to cloud services. The difference between surviving and functioning normally may depend on how much unused capacity exists elsewhere in the network. This is why redundancy must be built before the emergency. Once multiple cables have already failed, constructing a new transoceanic connection is not an immediate solution. Surveying a route takes time. Permits must be secured. Cable must be manufactured. Specialized ships must become available. The seabed must be mapped. Environmental and maritime risks must be assessed. Landing stations must be constructed. The system must then be tested before commercial traffic can move through it. Resilience cannot be improvised after sabotage begins. The third layer of America's strategy is trusted technology. A submarine cable system contains much more than fiber. It includes repeaters placed along the route to strengthen the optical signal. It includes branching units that divide connections toward different destinations. It includes power feeding equipment. It includes terminal hardware. It includes network management software. And it includes the terrestrial systems surrounding each landing point. Every component creates a supply chain decision. Who designed it? Who manufactured it? Who updates its software? Who can remotely maintain it? Who receives diagnostic data? Could the equipment contain an undocumented access mechanism? Could a vendor refuse support during a geopolitical conflict? America's concern is not that every foreign-made component contains a secret weapon. The concern is strategic dependency. A country that relies on an adversary to build and maintain its most important communication systems may discover that the dependency becomes leverage during a crisis. The United States is therefore trying to create a trusted cable ecosystem involving approved suppliers, reliable operators, secure landing stations, and allied governments. And the FCC has also explored additional measures involving foreign adversary equipment and services, trusted technology abroad, and incentives for using American submarine cable repair and maintenance vessels. Some of those measures were proposals rather than completed rules, demonstrating that the strategy was still developing through 2026. This distinction matters. America can regulate cables that land on American territory. It cannot directly control every cable crossing the Indian Ocean, Pacific, Atlantic, Arctic, or Mediterranean. To protect the wider network, Washington needs partners. That creates the fourth layer, cable diplomacy. The United States has increasingly used alliances and technology agreements to encourage trusted cable construction across strategically important regions. In 2024, the United States and partner countries issued a joint statement supporting secure, resilient undersea cable networks, trusted suppliers, diversified routes, strong cybersecurity, rapid repair, and international coordination. The strategy later appeared in bilateral and regional agreements involving countries such as Japan, India, Australia, Sweden, and Pacific Island states. This is not simply development assistance. It is a contest over the map of the global internet. A country choosing a new submarine cable is making decisions that may shape its communications for decades. Which nation finances the project? Which company builds it? Where does it land? Which cloud providers connect to it? Which repair? Ships service it? Which government gains political influence through the investment? Cable diplomacy allows the United States to strengthen allied connectivity while reducing dependence on networks controlled by strategic competitors. The Indo-Pacific is especially important. Island nations may depend on only one or two submarine connections. A single fault can reduce national bandwidth or force emergency reliance on satellites. The United States and its partners have supported additional connections and branching units for Pacific states because every new route reduces the power of a single failure. In March 2026, the State Department announced intended support for subsea cable branching units for Tonga and Samoa. In May, Quad partners said they were continuing work to expand and secure resilient undersea cable connectivity. India occupies another critical position. Its coastline sits beside major routes crossing the Indian Ocean between Europe, the Middle East, Africa, and East Asia. The United States and India have discussed maintenance, repair, financing, and trusted vendors for cable systems in the region. They also welcomed major privately financed projects intended to create new international digital routes. The objective is not to create one American-owned internet. It is to create a network in which trusted partners can continue communicating, even when one country, company, route, or landing station is compromised. That requires more than laying cables. It requires monitoring the sea above them. Most cable damage is accidental. Fishing equipment catches a line. A ship drops or drags an anchor. An underwater landslide breaks a system. Construction activity damages infrastructure near the coast, but deliberate attacks can be made to resemble accidents. A vessel may move through a cable corridor while claiming mechanical problems. An anchor may be dragged for an unusual distance. A ship may turn off or manipulate tracking equipment. A fault may occur in international waters where evidence is difficult to collect. By the time investigators reach the location, the suspected vessel may be hundreds of miles away. This is the attribution problem. A missile launch can be detected by satellites and radar. A cyber attack may leave digital evidence. An underwater cable break may initially look like an ordinary technical failure. Investigators must combine ship tracking records, sonar images, anchor marks, seabed damage, crew testimony, intelligence, and the timing of other incidents. Even then, proving intent can be difficult. Recent incidents in the Baltic Sea pushed this problem into the center of Western security planning. NATO stated in January 2025 that several energy and telecommunications cables connecting European countries had been damaged and that investigations were continuing amid concern about possible sabotage. The alliance responded by increasing maritime activity through Baltic Sentry, using ships, patrol aircraft, surveillance, sonar, remotely operated vehicles, and greater information sharing. Although Baltic Sentry is a NATO effort rather than an exclusively American program, it demonstrates the military layer supporting the broader U.S. strategy. Protection begins with awareness. Authorities must know which ships are near critical infrastructure. They must identify abnormal movement. They must understand which cables are most important. They must compare commercial shipping data with naval and intelligence information. They must detect when a vessel behaves differently from its declared purpose. This does not require attacking suspicious ships. Often, visibility itself creates deterrence. A vessel is less likely to approach sensitive infrastructure if its movements are being recorded by satellites, aircraft, drones, coastal radar, and naval patrols. The challenge is scale. Millions of ships, fishing boats, and service vessels move through global waters. Many cross cable routes every day. Most are harmless. Security systems cannot treat every anchor drop as an act of war. The objective is to find anomalies, a ship slowing in an unusual location, a repeated pattern of movement over cable corridors, tracking data that suddenly disappears, ownership connected to sanctioned companies, a vessel whose declared destination does not match its route, a ship remaining near a cable fault without an obvious commercial reason. Artificial intelligence may become important here. Algorithms can analyze large volumes of vessel movement, weather, seabed maps, cable locations, and historical behavior faster than human operators. The system could assign risk scores and alert authorities when several warning signs appear together. But automation also creates danger. Commercial data may be incomplete. Transponders can malfunction. Weather can force ships off course. An innocent vessel could appear suspicious. A false accusation could trigger an international confrontation. Technology can identify anomalies. It cannot automatically prove sabotage. The fifth layer of the strategy is repair. Deterrence may fail. Accidents will continue. Natural disasters cannot be arrested. No cable network can be made impossible to damage. The real measure of resilience is, therefore, how quickly service can be restored. Cable repair is highly specialized. A ship must locate a fault that may lie kilometers below the surface. The crew may need to recover the damaged cable using grapnels or remotely operated equipment. The line must be cut, lifted, repaired, tested, and returned to the seabed. Weather can delay operations. Permits may be required. Replacement cable and components must be available. A repair ship may already be working on another fault thousands of miles away. The internet may reroute around one break, but simultaneous failures can expose the limited number of ships and crews capable of repairing the network. This is why America is increasingly concerned about domestic repair capacity. Depending completely on foreign vessels creates a strategic weakness. During a large conflict, ships may be unavailable. Governments may prioritize their own cables. Ports may be closed. Crews may refuse to enter dangerous waters. Replacement equipment may be trapped inside hostile supply chains. A secure network therefore needs repair. Ships, trained crews, spare cable, maintenance agreements, port access, and emergency procedures prepared in advance. Repair capacity is not as visually dramatic as a destroyer or submarine. But in a cable crisis, the repair ship may be the most strategically important vessel at sea. The sixth layer is cybersecurity. A cable does not need to be physically cut to become dangerous. Landing stations and management networks can be hacked. Attackers may target authentication systems. They may steal network diagrams. They may compromise monitoring platforms. They may interfere with routing. They may attack the terrestrial networks connected to the cable. Or they may combine a cyber attack with physical damage to slow diagnosis and recovery. Imagine that a cable stops transmitting at the same moment its management system begins displaying incorrect information. Engineers may not know whether the problem is underwater, inside the landing station, or inside the software reporting the fault. Repair crews could be sent toward the wrong location. Traffic could be rerouted through a second compromised network. Confusion becomes part of the attack. This is why physical security and cybersecurity can no longer be separated. A guard at the landing station cannot stop malicious code. A firewall cannot stop an anchor. The defense must cover both domains at once. Operators need segmented networks, strong identity controls, secure software updates, continuous monitoring, protected operational data, backup power, alternative communications, physical access records, and rehearsed procedures for operating when management systems cannot be trusted. The seventh layer is cloud and network resilience. Most users never select which cable carries their data. Routing systems make that decision automatically. Large technology companies often own or invest in submarine cables because they need predictable high-capacity connections between their data centers. When a cable fails, these companies can redirect traffic through other routes. But rerouting is not unlimited. A surviving cable may become congested. The alternative path may be longer. Latency may rise. Applications designed around near-instant communication may begin failing. Financial trading systems can be sensitive to milliseconds. Cloud databases may struggle to synchronize. Video platforms may reduce quality. Companies may temporarily prioritize critical services over entertainment traffic. A severe attack would therefore not necessarily produce one dramatic global blackout. The internet could fracture into different levels of performance. Some countries would remain almost normal. Others would experience slow service. Small islands might lose most international capacity. Companies with private cable access would recover faster than businesses dependent on public networks. Military and government traffic might receive priority. The system would survive, but unevenly. America's strategy is designed to prevent that uneven degradation from becoming strategic defeat. The greatest danger is not that every cable on Earth is cut. The greatest danger is that an adversary disrupts the right cables at the right moment. During a conflict over Taiwan, cables connecting the island to regional and global networks could become targets. During a European crisis, North Atlantic and Baltic systems could face pressure. During confrontation in the Middle East, cables passing through narrow maritime corridors could become vulnerable. An attacker might not seek permanent disconnection. Temporary confusion could be enough. Delay military coordination, interrupt financial markets, disrupt cloud services, spread panic, force governments to question whether their communications are secure, create uncertainty while another military or political operation unfolds. This is why submarine cables belong to the gray zone between peace and war. Damaging one cable may be dismissed as an accident. Damaging several creates suspicion. Proving who ordered the action may take months. By then, the strategic objective may already have been achieved. America's response is to make the system harder to exploit at every level. Trusted companies reduce internal access. Licensing rules block dangerous ownership. Cybersecurity protects landing stations. New routes reduce choke points. Allied agreements extend protection beyond U.S. waters. Surveillance increases the chance that suspicious activity is detected. Repair ships reduce recovery time. Cloud networks reroute traffic around damage. Diplomatic coordination raises the political cost of sabotage. No single layer is sufficient. Together they create resilience. This is the central idea behind the strategy. The United States is not trying to make submarine cables impossible to cut. It is trying to make cutting them ineffective. An adversary may damage one route and discover that traffic has moved to 3 others. It may compromise a vendor and discover that the equipment is prohibited from trusted systems. It may approach a cable corridor and discover that Allied surveillance is already following the vessel. It may create an outage and discover that repair ships, spare equipment, and emergency agreements are already prepared. It may attempt to isolate one country and discover that new cables have connected that country through several partners. The attacker's cost rises, the strategic reward falls. That is deterrence through redundancy. But major weaknesses remain. Many cables are privately owned. Governments may not have complete operational visibility. Landing stations can still be geographically concentrated. Repair ships remain limited. International law may not provide simple answers when suspicious activity occurs outside territorial waters. Allies may disagree about attribution. Commercial operators may resist expensive security requirements. And developing countries may choose the cheapest available cable supplier, even when Washington considers that supplier risky. The strategy also creates a difficult balance. Security reviews can protect infrastructure, but excessive reviews can delay construction. Banning untrusted vendors may reduce espionage risk, but it may also raise costs and slow deployment. More government monitoring may improve awareness, but cable owners may fear exposing commercially sensitive information. Naval patrols may deter sabotage, but they can also increase tension in crowded waters. Every protective measure creates trade-offs. America must strengthen the network without turning it into a closed military system. The internet became powerful because it was distributed, commercially operated, internationally connected, and capable of moving information across borders. Securing that system cannot mean destroying the openness that made it valuable. The final strategy will therefore depend on cooperation between organizations that normally operate very differently. Technology companies move at commercial speed. Government agencies move through legal authorities. Navies operate through command structures. Cable owners protect proprietary information. Allies have different laws. Small nations have limited budgets. Repair companies work according to contracts and ship availability. During an emergency, all of them must share information quickly enough to prevent a fault from becoming a cascading failure. That coordination may be the hardest layer to build. Return to the imagined attack in the North Atlantic. 3 hours have passed. Engineers confirm that the first cable was physically damaged. The second failure may involve power equipment rather than a complete break. The suspicious activity at the landing station has been contained, but investigators still do not know whether it was connected. Cloud providers have rerouted critical traffic. Performance across some services has slowed, but the United States remains connected. Maritime authorities identify several ships that recently crossed the fault area. Aircraft begin collecting imagery. Allied governments exchange tracking data. A repair vessel receives orders to sail. No one can yet prove sabotage. But the system has avoided collapse. That is what success may look like. Not a dramatic naval battle. Not an internet that never experiences disruption. Not a cable protected by weapons along every mile of seabed. Success is an attack that fails to achieve strategic effect. Banks continue operating. Military commands remain connected. Cloud platforms continue serving customers. Allied governments continue communicating. Investigators preserve evidence. Repair teams restore capacity. The public experiences inconvenience rather than national paralysis. America's new submarine cable strategy is ultimately built around a simple realization. The global internet is physical. It has roots. It has borders. It has owners. It has machines. It has ships. It has repair crews. And it has vulnerable points resting silently on the ocean floor. For decades, those cables were protected largely by obscurity, reliability, and the assumption that no rival would risk attacking the infrastructure used by the entire world. That assumption is no longer enough. The new defense is not one wall surrounding the internet. It is a web of trusted suppliers, alternative routes, stronger licenses, allied patrols, secure landing stations, repair capacity, and automated resilience. An enemy may still reach the cable. It may even break the cable. But if America's strategy works, it will not be able to break the network.